You were just seeking the truth, that's all. You're a truth seeker. That's all. You can't help it, so you are. You're such a hypocrite. You're not interested in me. Maybe coming here was all about you and getting your story. I trusted you. You're my friend. You were supposed to be my friend when you were my wife. You're my friend, Cal. I never would have done this to you.
Sorry, Stephen, okay? I'm sorry about all of it. Please, look, and I can understand why you hate me for it. You just gotta put aside how you feel about me and stay with this. We're so close. Every single part of this, I have put myself on the line.
Ben, first of all, before this movie, I liked you as an actor, but now you're definitely one of my favorite actors. It was an exceptional performance.
Nice.
and a great story, a great movie that needed to be told.
Thank you.
I wanted to get your personal outlook on the marriage between the media and politics.
You know, it's interesting because the media wants to find a story every day, you know, and so they're trying to look for a story, and they're also trying to keep themselves afloat, stay in business, and sell newspapers or get clicks on their website or whatever. Right. And so, on the one hand, you have this instinct to like write about stories that you think are important, that matter, policy, whatever. On the other hand, you know, the stuff that's gonna, you know, move your units is sex, gossip, all that stuff. So you have this tension, I think, that exists inside these newspapers and or media outlets or blogs or anything. And the blogs, you know, veer to one side and the newspapers veer to the other. And, you know, it creates a game that the politicians play with the newspapers. And you have these two things that are like, they need each other, that rely on each other, and they're also in conflict with each other all the time. And it made for a good, something good to play with in this movie.
Gonna get you, Stephen. One way or another, they got 40 billion good reasons to want you out of the way. You gotta go on the record. Swing the spotlight back on them. You gotta protect yourself, man.
You go out there and find me evidence linking Sonia's death to Point Core. I will go on the record. I will shout this thing from the rooftops.
I can do that.
All right. I gotta get back. I'll be in touch.
Stephen.
Yeah.
Just watch your back.
You too.
One of the things I thought that was parallel to a lot of things that we deal with today in real society is that y'all talked about the military-industrial complex and disaster capitalism, and thought that was interesting. How do you feel that this movie, the timing of it, when it's coming on the heels of, you know, stuff like Katrina and all other stuff where we have controversy surrounding no-bid contracts and stuff, do you think it's going to shed more light on it?
I hope so. I mean, it's a little bit, it's probably like, it would have been better if it was a little bit closer to some of those events because, you know, obviously, there's now people's attention has shifted so much to, I think, their own job, their own, you know, personal circumstances, right. The economy. That really has become paramount. Although I think, you know, in some of this stuff, when it's about wasting money, I think people will still want to pay attention to it. Like, you know, $1 billion in no-bid contracts in Iraq. Well, where did then we can't find the money, or right. People be concerned about that, or if you're wasting money. In the Katrina rescue, people be kind of concerned about that. But to a certain extent, that's one of the hard things about movies is the lag time between right. You make it and when it comes out. So you're not really sure what part of the zeitgeist you're going to be affecting. But I do think those issues are important and that they're underneath the movie is something that I'm really proud of. And I hope that it's something that people take away from it.
One thing I wanted to talk about is your recent trips and your documentary that you did, Give Me Shelter,
yeah.
in Congo. I guess one thing that I found interesting is that you said that you don't see them as victims. Do you think the media's portrayal of Africa in general and populations in Africa has something to do with people's lack of support for intervention there?
Yes, I think that's a very good point. I think that Africans, for one thing, are kind of misportrayed in this country and in the West. I think it's a result of two things. One, most of what you see is people appealing for aid, and when they're appealing for aid, they think they need to show the most urgent images, and so that's what you see all the time is people who are having a hard time. Two, there's just a general indifference to people who are different from us or somewhere else, so you don't see anything else. No one's that interested in African film, music, whatever else it is. You know, people don't want to see any of that other stuff culturally. I think that because that is people's perception, as Africans are, you know, lying on their back with flies in their eyes and helpless and not doing anything, and they're just waiting for a handout. It's a really pernicious effect, because what it means is that everyone thinks, oh, it's going to be money down a rat hole. These people can't take care of themselves. They're only waiting for Western aid organizations to show up. And those perceptions are flatly false. I've been to 13 African countries. I've spent a lot of time there. I know a huge number of people there. It's just not what's going on there. Most of the really good work is being done. The African solutions are being found by African organizations and African leaders, augmented in some ways by NGOs. But in large measure, those are the people who understand the terrain and are doing the work. There's an extraordinary landscape in Africa of people that are doing amazing things that you never see. And because those images never get here, we really, really don't have a full sense, and therefore people aren't as committed to helping particularly when help is needed. Now, obviously, you know, Hurricane Katrina came, you had to go down and film the flooding and people's houses, you know, being swamped and people in the convention center and all that stuff. Otherwise, no one would have cared. By the same token, when there are real crises, you do have to show it. The thing is to not show the crises. The thing is to show the positive stuff also, to represent the other side of a continent of 800 million people that is diverse and that is extraordinary. I mean, we look at all the influences we get from Europe or even from Asia, and that's not happening right now from Africa. And that's something that is just as important as aid, really, as that like kind of awareness connection, because I think that will then facilitate market opening and trade, and hopefully ultimately trade will supplant aid. And what we'll be doing is trading with Africa and allowing African markets to come up and rise in the same way that they have in Asia. Because, you know, Africa, China, and India at a certain point used to all be sort of at the same level. And the Indians and the Chinese the last 30 years have gone past Africa. And I think this is one of the reasons that's happened, although there are others.
Yeah. Well, thank you, man. Please continue to do your work on screen and off the screen.
Thanks.
We need a few good men like you.
Thank you. You're a champ.